Chapter 1. The Prophecy. There is a moment captured on camera that haunts the history of the Premier League. It is the year 2019. The cameras for an Amazon documentary are rolling inside the pristine office of the Tottenham Hotspur training ground. Sitting behind the desk is Jose Mourinho, arguably the most ruthless, calculated manager in the history of the sport. Sitting across from him, slouched in a chair, is a 23-year-old kid. Mourinho looks at him, leaning forward, and delivers a chilling, prophetic warning. He says, "I am 56 years old, and yesterday I was 20. Time flies. One day, I think you will regret it if you do not reach what you can reach. I am not expecting you to be the man of the match every game. I am not expecting you to score goals every game. I just want to tell you that you will regret it." The kid just nods. He smirks slightly. He doesn't truly understand the weight of the words being spoken to him. That kid was Dele Alli. At the time, he was the golden prince of English football. He was the most exciting, audacious talent the country had produced in a generation. He had the world entirely in the palm of his hand. But Mourinho, with his veteran instincts, saw the cracks forming in the armor. He saw a genius standing on the edge of a cliff. And less than 4 years after that conversation, Dele Alli would completely fall off the map. Chapter 2. The Audacity of Genius. To truly feel the heartbreak of Dele's disappearance, you have to remember just how terrifyingly good he was at his peak. He didn't come from a pristine, pampered academy. He clawed his way up from the gritty lower leagues with MK Dons, and when he arrived in the Premier League, he played with a brutal, unapologetic street football arrogance. He didn't just want to beat defenders. He wanted to humiliate them. He wanted to nutmeg them, smile at them, and then smash the ball into the top corner. If you want to understand the sheer, undeniable brilliance of Dele Alli, you only have to look at one cold January afternoon at Selhurst Park against Crystal Palace. The ball was headed to him just outside the penalty box. Most players would trap it, look for a pass, and recycle possession. Not Dele. Without letting the ball touch the grass, he controlled it on his knee, flicked it entirely over the head of the Palace defender pressing him, spun around, and unleashed a devastating volley into the bottom corner. It wasn't just a goal. It was an insult to the laws of physics. By the time he was 21 years old, his statistics were staggering. He reached 50 Premier League goals faster than Paul Scholes, faster than Steven Gerrard, faster than Frank Lampard. In the world of fantasy Premier League, he was the ultimate mandatory asset, the player every single fan across the globe was desperate to have in their starting 11. He destroyed Real Madrid in the Champions League. He was the heartbeat of the England national team at the 2018 World Cup. He was untouchable. Until, suddenly, he wasn't. Chapter 3. The Ghost on the Pitch. The decline didn't happen overnight. It was a slow, agonizing fade that played out in front of millions of confused fans. The audacious flicks stopped working. The explosive runs into the penalty box vanished. The trademark smile, the one that infuriated rival fans but made him a hero in North London, was entirely gone. He looked heavy. He looked exhausted. He looked like a ghost haunting his own body. The media, as they always do, created their own narrative. They called him lazy. Pundits on national television claimed he cared more about playing Fortnite and buying expensive clothes than he did about football. Managers came and went at Tottenham, and every single one of them eventually banished Dele to the bench. He was sold to Everton in a desperate attempt to revive his career. It failed. He was loaned out to Besiktas in Turkey, a move that was supposed to take him away from the harsh spotlight of the English press. It was a disaster. He was booed by his own fans and eventually sidelined entirely. The world looked at Dele Alli and saw a spoiled millionaire who had thrown away a generational gift. They looked back at that clip of Jose Mourinho and said, "Mourinho was right. He wasted it." But the world had no idea what was actually happening in the dark. Chapter 4. The Unseen Scars. In the summer of 2023, Dele Alli sat down for an interview with Gary Neville, and in the span of 45 minutes, he shattered the entire narrative surrounding his career, leaving the footballing world in absolute, stunned silence. Dele wasn't lazy. He wasn't arrogant. He was a deeply traumatized human being who was completely crumbling under the weight of his own unresolved past. For the first time in his life, he revealed the horrors of his childhood. He revealed that at 6 years old, he was essayed by a friend of his biological mother. He revealed that at 7 years old, he started smoking. At 8 years old, he was dealing drugs, riding his bicycle around the estate with drugs hidden under the football because he knew the police wouldn't stop a kid. He was eventually adopted by an incredible family who saved his life, but the psychological scars of those formative years were buried, not healed. When he became a global superstar, the pressure acted as a magnifying glass on that trauma. To cope with the overwhelming anxiety, the depression, and the memories he was desperately trying to outrun, Dele turned to sleeping pills. It wasn't just an occasional crutch to get a good night's rest before a match. It became a severe, crippling addiction. He admitted he was taking them constantly, just to numb the pain, just to escape his own mind for a few hours. He was drinking heavily. He was smiling for the cameras, signing autographs, and playing in front of 80,000 people, while entirely dying inside. The narrative that he didn't care about football was completely backward. Football was the only thing holding him together. And when injuries and poor form started to take that away from him, the psychological dam broke. Chapter 5. The Ultimate Victory. When Dele returned from that disastrous loan spell in Turkey, he realized he had hit absolute rock bottom. He was 27 years old, the exact age when he was supposed to be dominating the world, and he was contemplating giving up entirely. But he didn't. Instead of hiding, he checked himself into a modern rehabilitation facility in America for 6 weeks. He went to face the demons he had been running from since he was 6 years old. When that interview aired, the reaction was instantaneous. The pundits who had criticized his work ethic apologized. The fans who had mocked his downfall flooded social media with messages of love and support. The global conversation shifted overnight from wasted talent to profound respect. We still don't know how the footballing chapter of Dele Alli's story will end. We don't know if he will ever return to the terrifying heights of that kid who flicked the ball over a defender at Selhurst Park. But the truth is, it doesn't matter anymore. Dele Alli's legacy is no longer about the goals he scored or the potential he didn't reach. His legacy is his survival. He took the darkest, most painful parts of his life and laid them bare for the world to see, breaking the stigma of mental health and addiction in a sport that demands absolute perfection. Jose Mourinho told him that one day he would look back and regret not reaching his potential. But looking back now, Dele Alli didn't fail. He survived a childhood that would have destroyed most people, and he lived to tell the tale. And that makes him a far greater champion than any trophy ever could.